Yo, 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 Nothing's Normal podcast. It's your host, Spit Inks, back at you with another episode. Special episode today. I say that all the time. Y'all tired of me saying it. But, anybody that I interview, it makes sense for me. So it's a special episode just because of that, for those reasons alone. Let's do our shout outs, man. This episode is brought to you today by Green Leaf. I see we got the nice little, what's this, a giant mouse pad? What we got going on here? Yeah, I like it.
It's fire, I like it.
You play nice little, quick little ice hockey.
Your lenses, things of sensitive.
Oh, you just laid it on this joint right here.
On there, and it's not going to scratch and get those micros.
Shout out to Kurt, man.
Copy that.
Oh, well, shout out to Alex and Kurt. Those are the studio owners. So, Green Leaf Studios. If you want to shoot a movie, shoot a podcast, shoot the breeze, contact us at Green Leaf Studios. We're located at Union Studios. Shout out to Guap and E-Man. Shout out to Polymath, the man behind the content, my dog.
Polymath, yes, sir.
We got one of the live show guys here. Shout out to GBA. Reach out to Tails, Grind, Build, Achieve on Instagram if you want some GBA garments. I think that's enough about us. Let's get more into our guests. Who I got sitting to the left, man?
They call me Jumpmanjay, but my government name is Jason Lacayo. So
Jason Lacayo.
Appreciate you having me on, Spanx.
Of course, man. I'm happy to have you here, man. This is an honor for me. I'm going to call you I like Jumpman, but I like Jason, too. I know a lot of people named Jason.
Yeah, Jason's a common name. People call me Jay or Jumpman.
There's a lot going on with Jason. So we're going to go, I don't know, Jay, Jumpman, whatever, for right now. Whatever I call you, it'd be in between those lines.
Roger that.
But shout out to you. Over here at Nothing's Normal, we spoke a little bit off camera, but we just got this small policy where we don't like to start our stories on page 50. We like to start at the beginning of the story to give our viewers a better idea of, some of the situations that shaped our why today, the who, what, when, how. That's important, especially when we talk about motivation. Transparency to me is a key ingredient to motivation, because
Absolutely.
Somebody will see you now and wonder how you got there and not know their circumstances might have started better than yours and you still made it to where you are. So with that being said, my boy Jumpman, where you from, man?
I'm from the Bronx originally, man. I moved to Yonkers when I was like 13. Both my parents are immigrants, right? They came here from Honduras in their early teens. So my brother and I are first generation born here.
Absolutely.
So a majority of my family was born in Honduras. Mm-hmm. Most of my cousins and stuff were first generation born here. So, my father was a correction officer. Ooh. My mom was a nurse. And when I was like 13, it was like, yo, we moving up the line a little bit.
We're moving on up.
Yeah, but they ain't tell me it was Yonkers. It was skipping a jump away from the BX.
It was a jumping jack away from home.
Yeah, exactly. So, we moved to the 6th borough. And, I pretty much spent my junior high school and high school years in Yonkers. I had to learn real fast where to go, who not to hang out with, where not to go. Yeah. Yonkers is one of them places where you got to learn real fast, man.
Yes,
and, I learned real fast, man. So I ended up going to John Burroughs, which is now Yonkers Middle High. And then I went to Saunders Trades and Technical High School for high school. Okay,
that's amazing. Being a first generation American, is there a standard put on you as far as representation? Is it a pride thing, a representation thing? Do you feel like you need to represent the family well? Is there any pressure being a first generation American?
Yeah, I think any immigrant child could tell you that their parents had high, standards for them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. My father was very big on that, man, and Absolutely. Especially from where we're from, Afro-Latino was not something that people were familiar with, right? Mm-hmm. Where I'm from, everybody looked like me.
Yeah.
But I think most Americans generalize Hispanic to look a certain way. You know what I'm saying? But there are Afro-Latinos. The African diaspora was a thing. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
My father was very big on we're from a Spanish-speaking country, but you're still a black man. So he basically told me nothing's gonna come to you easy. And you might have some issues being accepted by certain communities, right? So I I wasn't Spanish enough to hang out with the Spanish kids, but I wasn't black enough to hang out with the black kids.
Yeah, Lacayo.
So,
wait a minute.
they're like, yo, man, that ain't,
Jason
that ain't
Williams,
no, yeah,
maybe, but
exactly.
Lacayo?
That ain't no regular name.
Jason Brown.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
you know, I had a little bit of a, I don't want to say identity crisis, but I learned how to like fit in different rooms
That's important.
because of, you know, like who I was, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, there was pressure, man. I will say that, man. But my father made it very clear that, you know, we are to be exceptional. You know what I'm saying? So never fall into any kind of stigmas and know that nothing's going to come easy and you just got to work twice as hard as the next person.
Do you speak Spanish fluently?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
good.
get by. I could get by,
Okay,
you know
so
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
so you
Yeah.
can't. They can't really, you know, say no slick remarks when you're walking by without you.
Nah, not at
Okay,
all,
so you know what's
man.
going
You know,
on.
they use me to translate at work and stuff.
Oh,
so
good.
yeah, I could get by.
That's been big too. Now that I'm older, I wish I would have took that more. It's not like it's too late, but I really wish I would have took language speaking more serious in high school.
It's a great skill set to have, man.
100%.
It's a great skill set to have.
One thing that's been common over here at Nothing's Normal, like I said, I've been saying this a lot. We've interviewed maybe over 60 people, and a lot of us, I should say, you know, we didn't have fathers in the home. So for me to hear that, you know, your father, you know, is giving you the blueprint, it sounds like, you know, you had a very close relationship with both of your parents. Like that was that dynamic, that was your structure.
Absolutely, yeah. My dad was
That's important.
he was the muscle, and my mom was like the spiritual aspect of me. I'm an extremely spiritual person. You know what I'm saying? And anybody who knows Hispanic mothers,
Yeah.
they got God in their life. You know what I'm saying? So my mom was the one to bring me to church, and you know, allow me to have an understanding with God and, you know, creation and to be outwardly grateful.
Absolutely.
With the things that we have, man. Because, you know, I can say from their generation to my generation, we have jumped. You know, and that's what it's all about, right? Social mobility. That's why people come to this country, right? They come here to have opportunity so that their kids can have a better life than they had. And my brother and I, for sure, did that. You know,
Are
what I'm
you the
saying?
oldest?
No, I'm the baby,
Oh, you're
man.
the
So my
youngest.
brother's 4 years older than me. He's in law enforcement as well.
Oh, beautiful.
You know, he went to the military when he was like 18. I was a little different. You know what I'm saying? It took me a little bit to find my way.
Right.
One of my biggest regrets is not going to the military because I wasted a lot of time between 18 and 22, man. And I was out here playing with my freedom and you know, trying to, you know, because as a young man, you're trying to figure out who you are, right?
Absolutely.
So you out here, you know, you're hanging out with certain friend groups and you're getting into shit you probably shouldn't get into, right?
Absolutely.
And, you know, I was out here being a knucklehead, but
And that just goes to show you too, as young boys, because I am a father now, and I understand the father's purpose better than I did when I was young. Even with you having your father and my son having his father, they still gonna make their own decisions. You gotta
Absolutely.
learn through experience.
Yeah.
There's only so much somebody can tell you what to do before you gotta go see for yourself. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's amazing. You kind of elaborated on it, but if you could remember when you were a child, the first thing you wanted to be coming up, like what did you want to be?
I wanted to be in the military, man. So my dad was in the military reserves.
Okay.
So, you know, he did 4 years active with the Marine Corps and then went Army Reserve.
Okay.
So I always remember seeing him in like, you know, his BDUs and his boots is always shined and he was always squared away. His gig line was always appropriate, you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I think that's something I might want to do, man. And then I had one of my older cousins, he got into the military, so I just always saw it, you know what I mean? Like there was always a military presence around. So I was like, you know what? Maybe the military might be a thing for me. So I was always in the back of my mind. And then I remember my cousin was the first one to make the jump into like the law enforcement from the second gen. And I was like, all right, I think I could do it. Cause he was exactly like me. He was a sneakerhead, but he was like me, like getting into shit, but knew like not to
Boundaries.
go too far.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Boundaries.
when he did it, I was like, yeah, I could definitely see myself.
If they let him on, they gonna let me.
Yeah. And then so I was like, you know what? Let's get it.
So after high school, did you play sports at all? Were you
Yeah. So
into the typical? It's not like
Football,
want to be a
basketball,
cop 13 years
baseball.
old.
Yeah, nah, I was,
police camp. You do all that. You go through the channels that I know. Greenberg, we got police camps and all that coming up for the
I
kids.
didn't do none of that, man.
Nah.
Because the one thing they didn't tell me was when I came from the city, Yonkers police is a little different, man. You know what I mean?
Come the Beavis and Butthead era, man. I heard about them guys.
There's legends of things like that. So like my interactions with police at a young age weren't great interactions. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So my inspiration for becoming a police officer came from my family. And nothing other than that. You know, there was one other dude that I saw when I was like younger. and his name is Charlie Walker, who's he's an active police officer now, but he was one of those dudes that was from like School Street. Everybody knew who he was, became a cop, and like he was the first dude I ever saw go to a job where like shit could have went left, and because they knew who he was and how he treated them with respect, they were like, oh, no, that's Charlie, let's keep it pushing. Yeah. And that's what kind of was like, all right, maybe I can kind of get into it.
Yeah. Usually, not usually, a lot of times I see it happen. I've seen it happen before as far as when it comes to family tradition, traditional, family traditions. Like you got the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
You got, you got the Mayweathers in boxing. Sometimes that can be mentally taxing. You'll feel like, you almost owe your family this, and that might not necessarily even be your passion. Did you go through that at all? Did you feel like, you know what, I have no choice. This is what we do. I'm not even going to give anything else a shot.
Yeah, man, because I'm like the black sheep, right?
Yeah.
So like my brother was the one that was like the exceptional child, right? He was never got into no issues, never got into no fights, never gave my parents any headaches. Me, on the other hand, I was the polar opposite. So I think my greatest pressure was just for me not to disappoint my parents, important. More so my father. You know what I'm saying? My mother was going to love me unconditionally, whatever I became. Yeah. I feel like my father, I wanted to prove to him that, I was just like my brother. I could be like my brother. You know what I'm saying? So that was more of my motivation, man. I don't think there was any like pressure to be a cop. It just the way the cards were laid out for me. I became one at I was like 22, 23 when I got on.
Okay, so did you pursue college at all after high school?
Yeah.
Okay. So you tried,
I tried college, got a little extracurricular activity up there, and then I ended up going to Westchester.
Okay,
so
we all do that.
Yeah, so I was in Westchester, got my 60 credits, and then I started applying for police jobs, man. So New York City was required you have the 60 credits or an associate's degree. Okay. So
criminal justice, I would imagine. No?
Yeah. Okay. I did. I started out with like business and marketing, and then I ended up going the criminal justice route. Got my credits, and then they started the process, and then I ended up getting hired July 11th of 2005. 2005.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So you got years.
So I graduated high school 2000. By 2005, I was already.
What's the process like becoming a cop? I never really actually knew that. I didn't even know you needed credits. I know all I hear is about the academy.
Yeah, so of stories about New York City required at the time, it was 60 credits or associate's degree, if not 2 years military. And then they start the process by literally like going through your entire life, dog. Like you got to get a social security print up. You got to get transcripts from whatever schools you went to. They go back to see if you ever were suspended or anything like that. I had a couple of blemishes from my high school that popped up that I forgot. I had like an in-house suspension, and they were like, "Yo, what happened here when you got suspended in-house for 2 days?" I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, they said you broke a window in school. I said, "Nah, we was play fighting in the hallway. One of my boys pushed me into the door, and we broke the glass." And they're like, "All right, cool," and then they go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, man. Thank God for me, like my driving abstract was cool. Everything else was on like the up and up. That was the one thing that like popped up to them. And the crazy thing about New York City, when they put you in the academy, you don't know till like maybe 72 hours before.
Yeah.
I literally found out like on a Friday, and that shit started on Monday. I found out like Friday afternoon. I know some people who got called Sunday night.
Shit.
And then they had to report on Monday morning. But yeah, it's just basically they go through your whole background, make sure there's no blemishes or anything like that.
Right.
Anything that could be considered a red flag. And then you kind of go through what they call like the processing, which is like that you do a medical, a psych, and then it's a written and then the oral psych. And then after that, you just wait for the phone call, and you get the phone call and you start the academy.
NYPD, man. Whew. That was you busy?
Bro, that shit was baptism by fire. It's crazy because
at 22 years old, they throw you right to the
They throw you to the wolves, B, and it's like the blind leading the blind, man. So I worked in the 4-6 precinct, which is on 181 in Grand Concourse, right? Well, 181 in Ryer Avenue, which is right off the Grand Concourse. If y'all don't know where that shit is, that is in the belly of the beast. All right. I remember walking into the precinct, and my first interaction in the precinct was a guy walking in with what I thought had a burgundy towel on his head, but it was a white T-shirt, and he got whacked in the head with a machete because they took his cell phone. So that was my introduction to the 4-6. You know what I'm saying? So I had an aunt that lived in the 4-6. On 183 in Valentine, and I was a kid, man. And
that's the one of them streets.
Yeah, man.
That's a legendary street.
And I'm an 80s baby, right? Whoa. So I was born in 82.
Yeah.
So I'm going out there with my dad and my mom in the mid 80s when crack was crazy, and I remember, seeing crack vials on the floor, people making hand-to-hand transactions, like, and not too far from there on Webster, that's when Larry Davis had the shootout with the cops. So it's like, that's the belly of the beast, and that's why I was sent, for my first command, man. And you got to learn quick. That's all I got to say, man.
Whoa. That's deep. That's deep. I know a lot of friends, like I said, that did a lot of transfers from NYPD, and it's like a breath of fresh air when they get up here. It's like,
oh yeah,
woo!
Man. I remember where I was when I got the call to come here, man, and I was like, I'll be in 5 minutes to pick up that package so you can start my background investigation. So
2005 you started.
Yeah.
You know what I remember about 2005? The gun law changed to the New York State gun law.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure you remember that.
Yeah, man.
Not that it resonates to me. I can remember, like, I don't know, I remember, like, key things about specific days spread out throughout different years.
Yeah.
So I remember the signs coming up. Because I remember, people in my community was going to jail for guns 8 months. They call them bullets. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that. But 8 months. And then next thing you know, you see those signs where it's like, oh, no, you're going to jail for, I think it was 3 years for the gun. So that's what resonates to me.
A couple of my boys got caught up in shit like that. Yeah, man.
2005. Okay, well, let's talk about... before we, advance past your story, if you can speak about it, what was one of your worst situations being a New York police officer down there?
Ooh, man.
What was one of your worst experiences down there?
There's several, bro, but the one that sticks out to me is dead baby call, bro.
Fuck me.
Man. That's like the one that still replays in my head as I was a kid too, right? So like, 22, 23 years old, you get a call of a suspicious object in a dumpster.
Suspicious object.
Yeah, so like the way they do
terminology.
it. Yeah, the way they do it is like they'll send a junior guy to sit on that particular call. So I was the guy that was junior, and lady points out like that's where it is. I go over there, we lift up the fucking thing, and sure enough, it's a bag. Fuck. It's a baby in the bag, and then that's one of the calls that like still, I don't want to say haunts me, but I can remember it. There's certain smells that I like. If I walk by something, it triggers it. Yeah, but that's like, I think by far was one of my most, like, I don't want to say treacherous calls, but like it was something that make you think twice about mankind.
On the topic of that, what are some things that you do for mental health as far as people don't really, now that I'm older and I have a plethora of friends that are in law enforcement, so I look at it completely different. The mind is very fragile. Oof. We especially, trauma's photogenic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trauma is something that any sort of trigger, it'll take you right back to that exact moment. The emotions and feelings, and I've seen a lot of people that I know in law enforcement, they fell to mental health just from what they seen. They never had troubles mentally until they saw these things, and I feel like that's important. I'm getting shaken up from talking about it just from my own personal experiences, knowing people and their stories. But what are some things that you do to decompress from your job?
Man, fitness has been an outlet for me.
You gotta see it all.
Yeah, fitness was always an outlet for me. I started seeing a therapist some years ago, and that helped me out tremendously, man. Because I think there's one thing that I think resonates with our community is that we see shit at a very early age that we're not supposed to see. You know what I'm saying? I think if you grow up in any kind of urban environment, you're exposed to violence, you're exposed to drug use, and then we have friends that that get incarcerated. Or that are involved in street violence, you know what I'm saying? So we get exposed to that shit real early, and a lot of that is then offset by the things that we see as police officers or first responders or whatever have you. It's all like almost what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like a cohesive thing, right? So if you saw something at 7, you saw something at 14, now you see something at 21, it all gets lumped in together. Those 100%. Traumas start back from when you were a kid.
It's the seeds being planted.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, what I do is, like I said, wellness, man. Like I make sure that I move my body. There's 3 things that are non-negotiables for me, and that's I wake up, I have to pray, right? I do a quick meditation, and then I have like this little gratitude journal. If I can't get the gratitude journal, I'll just say the gratitude out loud.
Can you
know
say
what I
it for us, or is it personal?
Oh no, it depends. Every day is different, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you know, like one thing that I say every single day, right? And this is like when I come home, and I always say, thank you, Father, for allowing me to return home the same way I left, with sound mind, body, and spirit. That's like something that I always say, man, because one of the biggest things that we take for granted is that we get to leave the house and come home the same way we left.
100%.
Because a lot of people leave, right, and they don't return home, right? You run into a bad car accident, or you have a fight with somebody, and whatever happens, you know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I say, like, it's the same thing every single day, exactly what I just said. That's one thing that I always have to say to myself, because that shit is not a given, that we leave and come home, you know what I mean? So it's like little shit like that, like affirmations that I say to myself, making sure that outward gratitude is huge, man, because a lot of people will complain about shit that they don't have, but think about the shit that you prayed for and that you have now that you forgot that you prayed on and you got.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to take that time to reflect. Wow. Have you lost anything with your profession? Like, what's something that you lost that you might have never thought you would even lose, but because...
Friends.
Yeah.
I was
That's
young.
hard.
I was young, man. I was young. So I'm like 22, 23. My boys are still out here, and I'm like, listen, man, I got a job now. It comes with a pension.
Absolutely.
Deferred comp and whatever have you. And, I can start my life now. And then they were still, some of them was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But, the minute they see me with the badge on, they was like, nah, we can't rock with Jay no more. So it was like kids I grew up with, sandbox shit that didn't really rock with me no more because I had a gun in the badge, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's something I never thought I could, I would lose, you know what I'm saying? So.
Was it hard for you, or was it more so
man, because it's like,
absolutely,
those are your people, right? These are the kids that you grew up with, that, you ran around with, you experienced certain things, and now they no longer could be your friends because of the activities that they're engaged in, you know what I'm saying? And not saying I'm passing judgment or anything like that on them. I ain't looking for you when I'm...
do that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They were the ones that separated themselves, you know what I'm saying? So, that sucked.
Moving along past that, because I said, I was just walking, our studio is located in the area where I had a lot of my trials and tribulations all over the city. And I could just remember, now that I'm older, how do I want to say this? It depends on what side you're on. There's been times there's 3 of us outside and there's 300 dudes from out here, and you see a cop ride by, and it was like, amen. It depends on what side of the situation. I got shot when I was in California. Ambulance and cops got me to the hospital.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they say you gotta save lives. Realistically, it depends on what side of the situation you on. So that's deep to me. That's deep. Moving forward, I caught hip to you probably a few years ago in the podcast space.
Okay.
And you're a very good speaker. Let's talk about that. Like, was it COVID? A lot of people started their podcasting journeys throughout COVID. I've seen a lot of podcasts emerge.
So
what was your introduction to it?
That's a great question, man. One of my boys out in Jersey was like, yo, man, this is like 2018, man.
Oh, it's before COVID.
Yeah, so way before COVID, my boy Kevin Dublin, shout out to Colossal Kev on Instagram. My boy Kevin Dublin was like, listen, man, I'm thinking about starting this podcast. And it was just us talking about being in like a fitness niche, which was CrossFit at the time, and being a subculture within a subculture. And that shit took off, bro. Like, between the people that he knew and the people that I knew, and this is before like podcasting took off, right? We just started collaborating and getting episodes together, and then they would bring in people that they knew, and I ended up bringing in people that I knew. And one of our more popular episodes was I had Styles come on the show, and we did it. We shot it at Sneaker Lounge in Eastchester.
I saw it.
So it was, on site, you know what I mean? Like, Styles showed up off of love. Styles is like a big brother to me.
For sure.
When I was on my plant-based journey, he was the catalyst for that. And, he was the one that helped me out a lot, just trying to figure out my way.
Absolutely.
In a particular part of my life. And so I started there, man, just, podcasting with my boys. And then, like anything that has multiple people involved, there's differences in opinions and egos and so on. So, that split, and I ended up breaking off and doing like a lot of like executive producing of podcasts.
Okay.
And being like the host, and then, you know, I ran a podcast for the gym that I was working at, the one I was in Hawthorne.
Yeah.
I ran 2 other podcasts, and then I was like, you know what, man, I think it's time for me to start my own joint. And then, so I was doing my own podcast, and I was outsourced to do one for a non-for-profit, and that was called Inside the Labyrinth for Reps for Responders, and that was all just like mental health based, and you know, and
Ooh,
I was able to sit in a room with one of my like hip hop icons, you know, DMC from Run DMC, man, and I think that was like one of my bucket list podcasts. Like Styles is one of my favorite rappers, but to sit in a room with a pioneer like DMC was crazy to me. So
that's iconic.
yeah, man, that was like, you know, he's in the the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
100%.
So yeah, I've been doing this since 2018, man, and I'm just, you know, I'm looking to do more of it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I've been doing this since 2018, though, man.
Is it something that you enjoy, or is it?
I love it, man. I think one of the gifts that God gave me is my ability to connect and speak with people, man. So
You speak well.
appreciate that, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what, you know. Hopefully, I could do it when I retire, like full time.
Yeah.
Something like that, but you know, we'll see.
Absolutely. Retirement. Wow. The cops, what do I got to do? 20?
20,
How's it?
yeah, man.
Okay. And so you almost. Well. Is
And-
Westchester? Is it a different pension system, retirement system?
No, it's not even the pension system I'm worried about. I'm worried about like my medical, right? So I hit 20 years in July. So July 11th of 2025 means I've been a cop for 20 years. But in the city of White Plains, I've been a cop for 18 years. I won't get the full medical. So I'm going to stay the extra 2 years so I can get the medical, and then I can get up out of here.
For you to be a cop in White Plains and I never ran it, that's where they got you. Where they be? What are you on desk duty?
Yo, and you know what's crazy?
I've never ever.
I used to see your shit in the precinct, right? I used to see your shit on the bulletins and all of that, right? And I'm like, I hope I never run into this cat. Word up, I swear to God, man.
You see how
Because-
like the universe work?
But peep it. And
Yo.
it's funny because they always used to be like, yo, he got hands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to run into homie, man, because like,
Well, I never assaulted a cop.
nah,
ever.
but like,
Yeah.
the one thing they would always say is like, yo, be careful.
Yeah.
He could fight.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't on some like officer safety shit. Like, I was in a proactive unit that was in running around like Winbrook. That's how I met like Shorts.
Yeah, my
Oaking
boy,
these
my
guys,
dog.
right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and for years it was like I knew who Shorts was. Shorts, you know, like would see me, but like never disrespectful. But it's almost like you were saying. It's like you see us, y'all ain't trying to talk to us, but you might be in the middle of something, and I might be trying to move a crowd. No one was ever disrespectful. I was never disrespectful to them.
Yeah.
And so, just through 7 degrees of separation, I ended up meeting, Oak. I ended up meeting Shorts, like outside of the.
Those are good brothers to meet.
Yeah,
too.
man. I love them two dudes.
Aligned
Just
brothers. Yeah.
Great human beings, man. And they never gave me no hard way to go out there. They used to be in the mix and never, So we met on some like real like just human being shit,
Yeah.
and then I clicked with the homies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to see a joint in the precinct, man.
Yo,
Yeah.
because I was always like, damn, White Plains. When we spoke at the live show, I reflect. I'm like, 18 years. Hold on, that was 2007. That was like at the peak of. It was the time where like they would pull us over and escort us out of White Plains, all fights and shit like
When
that.
I first
And
got
I'm
here-
friends with all of them now.
It was Greenberg versus White Plains, man,
Heavy.
and it was heavy.
Heavy.
I never understood it till I got here. I used to hear it,
Yeah.
but I never understood it till
Well,
I got
Yonkers is
here.
the same. You got this block, that block.
Yeah,
whoop, whoop.
yeah,
So it's-
but this
Yeah.
shit was different.
Yeah, this shit was different.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like some of it was like related.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
y'all right up the street, but it's
Yeah.
still real.
Absolutely. Wow. That's
Just to get a grasp of that concept was wild to me.
It was not in hindsight, like it was wild to me too. It was just something that it just happened. I don't, but I feel like that me going through it young and being blessed enough to make it through that, I got a wealth of wisdom.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
you're one of
Well,
the fortunate ones, bro. That like
yeah.
you woke up,
Yeah, you
and
gotta
was like,
figure it
maybe
out.
this ain't for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I feel like everybody has to go through that in their life to figure out where they're gonna go in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like you go through bullshit now, so that your trajectory is greater in the later runs. You know what I'm saying?
And realistically speaking, with the whole separation of, because like you can't judge. I don't judge people by groups. I deal with individuals.
Yeah.
I'm not a general type of person. So the same way they put judgments on minorities. This one, this is. It's the same thing with cops. You got some good ones and you got some bad ones.
Yeah, there's good and bad in everything.
And then
I
you
would
got
say
to think
that.
also too, if you're taking accountability, a lot of people the streets has a hard time taking accountability. Y'all got a job, we got a job. If y'all doing your job. If
One of
you
my
doing
OGs
something-
told me that. He's like, my job is for you not to catch me. Your job is to catch me.
100%.
And that's one of my OGs told me that. And I was like, you're right, man.
Have you ever had to bust somebody you love? Like, have you ever been in a situation where you had to?
Yo, by the grace of God, I never had to, man.
Yeah.
I've helped.
That's tough.
I've helped.
But I mean, listen,
You know what I
that's
mean?
a
Like,
job.
it's wild because I don't even realize it. And then like somebody would like remind me of something. I remember I'm playing like flag football somewhere, and my boy got into some shit. And I'm a big believer on like what you dole out to the universe will return to you, right? So I'm working one night, and kid gets into something. They square up, man on man, no weapons, no nothing. Somebody gets the better of somebody else.
Right.
One goes that way, the other goes that way, right? Now the person who lost, obviously he wants, oh man, they're over there. I said, who? You know what I mean? Like, hey, you started it, right? Like, and you tried to finish it, you got finished.
That's important.
Right? So, and then it came back to me tenfold, man, because that kid that I, let rock out, I'm playing on a football team with him. He's like, yo, you don't remember me, dog?
That's
I'm like,
love.
nah.
That's
He's
love.
like, yo, man, I was out here scrapping, and you see me, and then it was 1D, but I got the better of him.
Because you'd rather see that than you see what we see typical now today. It's just out of
gunplay,
hand now.
somebody gets stabbed or something. You know what I mean? Like, listen, if you square up with somebody, you lose. Oh well. You decided. You bought that ticket.
I do feel like one of the modifications. I feel like in any profession, period, they need to do more checks on the mind, because I mean, going through somebody's past, the mind changes daily. It changes over time.
For sure.
So I think a lot of times authority. I mean, everything is a drug. Gambling's a drug.
Yeah.
Drugs is drugs. Hustling's a drug.
Yeah.
Power's a drug too.
Absolutely.
Do you find yourself when you're not at work turning that off? Like if you're out at Target and it's like you see somebody sneak a pack of Pringles, are you like, hey, ooh,
Yo, you
ooh.
know what's wild is I don't have a cop brain.
No?
So like
yeah.
I only worry about like personal safety, right? So
Absolutely.
if I'm moving somewhere and I'm doing something, right, I'm just making sure that I'm safe and whoever's with me is safe.
Yeah.
If somebody's stealing something over there, I'm not no superhero, bro.
Yeah,
You can
for
do
sure.
whatever it is you want to do over there. I'm gonna be over here.
Or like walk in a bar and be like, it's technically 10 people over capacity. Like, does your brain work like
I don't
that?
even work
You
like
know how to
that,
have
man.
A good time. You
If
just,
I get pulled over, my shit is at 10 and 2, all the lights is on, windows is rolled down. I don't play those games, man, because like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, this is what I try to say. Any person of color, right? If you are in law enforcement, you're a person of color, I don't give a fuck. If you say you don't feel this way, then you might be lying. But like, they don't know I'm a cop,
Yeah.
right? So if you stop me in my car,
yeah.
right, I look just like you, right? I look like everybody else.
I've really been watching Cops versus FBI. I've been binge watching that on YouTube. Like cops stopping lawyers, judges, and this, that, and the third. And yeah, it's similar situations where
bro, they don't know.
It gets wild
You
sometimes
don't,
amongst.
yeah, you don't got a stamp that says, "Hey, I'm a police officer." You know what I'm saying? I treat everybody with respect, man. I make sure that I make them feel as safe as possible because I know that I could be. I'll give you an incident that I had. Right, I'm in the Bronx. I got some family that lives in some sketchy parts of the Bronx.
Right.
You know, I'm off of Tremont. I come out of a building. It's late night. I got a hoodie on. It's cold. Right, plainclothes cops run up on me. I heard the van, but like I didn't think they was coming for me. I'm just minding my business.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be feet to my car because it's cold. Dudes throw me up against the wall, and I got my shit on me because I'm in a crazy neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Right, and they're like, "Where you coming from?" Da-da-da-da. I'm like, "Yo, man, apartment 4B, yada yada yada," and they're like, "Oh, my bad."
Yeah.
Like now because they got my shield and ID
Yeah.
now. Like, oh man, like I'm like, yeah, I used to be a city cop. I transferred up there. Now they talking to me regular. So I was like, and I know the game, right? It's like I'm in a drug-prone neighborhood.
100%.
Right?
Stop and frisk.
Stop and frisk, right? And this was before, shit is like now, you know what I'm saying? I was a little younger, whatever. So they were like, yeah, man, you look like everybody, you know what I'm saying? You look like one of these guys. So I was like, all right, bro, like, I get it, man. I get it. I understand, man. But
Profile. Yeah, profile.
yeah, it happens, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But like, I'm not giving them no gas though. I'm
No.
not, I'm not trying to, like, why you doing it?
Yeah, no, it is what it-
I'm on the job. I ain't doing none of that.
I mean, when you understand too, I mean, listen, when you're in an area like that, I can't. Can you blame them?
No, I can't. That's what I'm
you
saying.
know, realistic.
Yeah.
I'm all about.
I get it. I
real.
hopped out the building.
I'm
I got
not
my hands in my
biased.
pocket. I'm moving mad
Yeah,
fast. Like, he probably
come
thought
on.
I got a pack and it was
Absolutely
trying to beat feet to the car. I get it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
for sure. When Jason's not working, what's Jason doing? What's some things Jason likes to do with his time outside of fitness? Fitness is big for me, so I don't know. I really can't.
Fitness.
My paper gets blank after fitness.
Yeah, fitness.
And what kind of fitness are you into?
Right now I'm into running and you know, traditional weight training, but I do some Olympic weightlifting. But running right now and cycling. The weather's about to break, so I'll be on my bike. But when I'm not doing that, man, you know, I work with a few non-for-profits, man. We always kind of glaze over mental health, man, and
It's important.
yeah, I had a bout with some, you know, depression and anxiety in like 2017, man. So, and that shit got dark for me, bro. So that's
Can we
what
dive into it a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
This is important. We dehumanize people with titles. Cops, rich people, everything's supposed to be okay.
Yeah.
White people, they get scrutinized. All kind of different variables, and people get thrown under the microscope as if nothing goes wrong in their life, and that's not true.
Yeah.
So this is why I love conversations like this to get the truth out, man. Like, you know, we could do it. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, I just, you know, I got to a point in my life where like I was questioning my existence, man, and like
Really?
Yeah, man, and you would never know, right? Because I was presenting as normal, you know.
That's
I was
important.
just
Nothing's normal over here.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
You know?
So
that's important.
yeah, I was just kind of going through it, man, and it was just a cumulative thing, right? It was over the course of my career, you know, some things that happened in my career, some things that happened in my personal life, and then like I just woke up one day and I was like, why the fuck am I so angry all the time? I'm not an angry person, you know, and I was just kind of moving about that way. But you don't you realize you're angry, but you don't realize like how you come across to loved ones and family members.
Absolutely.
So I had a family member, or you know, someone I consider a close family member, like, yo, man, you good? You know, and she was like, yo, you changed, man. You all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? You know, it is what it is. And she's like, nah, man, I think you need to speak to somebody. So she kind of handed me a card. I was like, listen, man, like, if you can't talk to her, then talk to me. Because she was a therapist as well.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on therapy? Before we dive into
I'm going to tell you right now, I think everybody needs to do it at some point in their life, especially if you grew up the way we grew up.
Absolutely.
If you grew up in a place where you lost, you know, family members, like, so I'll give you an interesting stat, right? They say like the average person has 2 to 3 traumatic incidents throughout their lifetime, right? Now, if you put somebody in an urban environment, that goes, so someone in the suburbs, 2 to 3, someone in an urban environment, 6 to 8, right?
Absolutely.
So I grew up in an urban environment, right? And then I was a police officer at like 23 years old, 22 years old, right? So the average police officer sees 188 critical incidents throughout their career, right? So let's just take all that shit and just
In 1 year, we
stack
talking
all
about
of that.
20 years.
Yeah, man. So it's like, especially if you a child too, right? Because you think about it, 22, 23 years old, you're still a child,
You're still
right?
figuring
So
it out.
yeah, you're still figuring out your shit. So you know, all of that combined eventually took its toll on me. I was able to keep my shit together to the point where nobody knew that I was going through it.
Yeah.
Because we're also taught as men that you cannot show weakness.
100%.
Right? You got, you know, we can't cry, we can't do this, we can't do that. So, you know, I was able to mask it, but at the same time, that shit was eating me alive,
Unhealthy.
man. Yeah.
You're destroying your inside, your soul.
So it took like
Destroying
3 or 4 sessions for me to actually open up. But like once we started to sit down and chat, man, like a lot of shit stemmed from my childhood, bro. And then like just got, you know, oh, this happened when you were 12, and then this happened when you were 14, and this happened when you were 16, and then this. And you're like, oh, shit.
Was your father like one of those, because sometimes a father's love and a mother's love is
Completely different, yeah.
loves. So sometimes a father will show his love by just forcing you to move a certain way. He doesn't explain and things of that nature. So what kind of lover was your dad? Was your dad more of a, I'm going to explain to you the situation, or I'm just going to model it and show you and pull you up when I need to?
My dad was, I think he had a good balance, right? He was able to, show tough love, but at the same time, give love, right?
Absolutely.
But also he had that element of like, I feared my father.
That's necessary.
You need that. You need
That's
a little
necessary.
bit of fear, because if you don't fear something and you know, like, if there's no consequences to my actions, then I'm gonna go out here and just be a fucking
Cause and
asshole,
effect.
right? Yeah. So for every action is either equal or adverse reaction, right? So if I'm out here bugging the fuck out, and my mom goes, "I'm gonna tell your father," if I don't sit my ass down and be like, and write the ship, then I know like my dad is probably not somebody that I fear. You need a little bit of fear.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
you gotta be Joe Jackson. Rest in peace. But, you know, just
Like, I would
little,
never say that my dad was like, pummeling me and nothing like that. But like he put his hands on me 3 times in my entire life. That's all he
good.
needed to do.
That's a good stat.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I could count them 3. All 3 was legit.
And you a boy.
Yeah,
I know,
you know
I know kids getting tore
My
up.
mom was the one doling out the ass whoopings, but like, my dad just it was a perfect balance, I feel, because a lot of the shit that I do in my life now, I know stems from my father deep rooting that and instilling that in me as a young child.
Are your parents still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. They retired to Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, that's amazing.
They got a retirement home down there. They spend my father spends like half the year in Honduras. We got property in Honduras that he maintains. Mm-hmm. You know, they and they've been retired for 15 years, man. So they're getting their pensions worth.
That's love.
You know, but back to the therapy joint. Yeah. I feel like anybody who grew up in an environment that we grew up in, because we seen a lot of shit that we ain't supposed to see, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I done been around shootouts, you know what I'm saying, as a kid. I done seen people get stabbed, you know.
Everybody got PTSD.
Yeah,
everybody.
Man.
Urban, especially in the urban. Yeah,
if you from an urban environment, man, you can't tell me you ain't lose a friend. Mm-hmm. You know, you ain't seen somebody get poked up, or you ain't seen somebody get shot or something. So we were just unpacking that shit for the first 2 weeks.
For sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And like I said, I don't want to tell people, like, I don't want to make it seem like I grew up in Fallujah or nothing like that.
Yeah.
Mogadishu and nothing.
You're not from O-Block.
But
we seen
we seen what we seen. You know, like I'm from a place where, you know, you had a friend, maybe you saw him on a Monday, and by Wednesday you ain't see him no more because something happened.
I'm pretty sure you had a lot of people you knew that's gone.
Yeah, dozens. Absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely.
On the topic of therapy, a lot of people, when they not just therapy, when they go into something, they don't have a goal. They just kind of healing. I feel like nowadays a lot of people don't really want to heal. It's the process. It's 'cause I said this to Kurt when we spoke during our episode. When you're healed, your trigger is now a holster now. There's no more. When you're healed, whatever bothered you, it just doesn't bother you no more. So sometimes with therapy I feel like is amazing. I just feel like sometimes people misconstrue therapy as just a session, not really sometimes people just need to get shit off their chest.
Yeah.
With no problem resolution, no nothing, no, okay, this is what I seen this level of violence. I shouldn't be out here doing everything that I seen. That's the goal. That would be the goal for that situation. But a lot of times people would just go there and I call it trauma dump. They'll trauma dump, they'll speak about it with no intent on getting better from it. I want to get your opinion on that. Like, what is your goal when you go to therapy? Is it more just I need somebody to talk to? Because sometimes talking to a stranger is easier than talking to somebody you know, because the people we know and love are the ones who pass the most judgment.
Yeah. I mean, my thing was just to get back to baseline. I didn't even know that I had these traumas, bro. I figured it out a couple weeks in that I was there. Yeah, I didn't know none of that shit. Because, like, I don't, first time I'm in there, I'm like this. Like, what you going to tell me about me? Like, I'm not crazy. But then they start unpacking shit, and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Like, we done been through a bunch of shit, And then, like, there's parental things that happen that you don't know that have an effect on you, My whole thing was I always wanted to prove to my father that I was, like, a good son, you know what I'm saying? Because I was always getting into shit.
Yeah.
So, like, that was something that was presenting an issue in my life, you know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to get back to baseline.
That's deep, man. Yeah. I guess I can only have wished I went through something like that, like had a man and a figure in my life that I just wanted to impress. I was just watching Chris Eubank Jr., one of the boxers. Him and his father's not on one accord right now, and just to hear him speak on his dad was just like,
yeah, because I feel like every male has a male that they moniker themselves after.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have a father in your household, it might be a guy on the block that you's like, hey, yo, he got the cars, he got the girls, he got the money, right? Or like there was a dude, he's fresh, he's this. Every man tries to moniker themselves after another man. So mine happened to be my father. My father was always like dressed nice, always had like a whip, you know what I mean? But he instilled certain things to me. like make sure your credit's on point, make sure this, make sure that. And
That's important, man.
I took that with me, and I think one of my biggest issues growing up was like, I was always getting into some shit. Like I was always his headache.
Yeah.
My brother wasn't the headache. I was the headache. So I spent the majority of my life trying to prove to him that I'm a good son. And I think once I became a police officer, that kind of, like that weight was lifted off of me.
How did he feel? I mean, did he ever explain that to you? Like, what was his thoughts on
My father
your
has
behavior?
Or
just as far as how he felt, did he encourage you? Like, son, I believe you. You are a good son. Or was it more?
My father would never say that, and that's the thing that really.
Wow.
My dad is the type of person where, and I don't think he's doing it in a malicious way. I think that's how
absolutely
his father did to him, right? Like, I remember when I graduated the academy. It's like one of the greatest days of my life, right? I was ground level, right? Madison Square Garden. They're playing, Frank Sinatra, New York, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the joint, my father was like, "Hey, man, like, you did all right, man. Like, I was a little worried about you." And, you know what I mean? You could have went left.
He could have gave you.
Yeah, but he could have just been like, "I'm proud of you." But everything he does,
He couldn't really.
it's a roundabout.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, it's a roundabout. Like, he could have just said, "Son, I'm proud of you. You did your thing." But he's like, "I was a little worried about you, man."
Yeah.
But you made it. You did good. So for me, it was just.
I can't give me a hug. Man. Just tell me, son, you did it.
And my father was an affectionate guy. You know what I mean? He hugged me and all of that, but he could never tell me, like, "Yo, man, I'm proud of you." I don't think I ever heard it from him, to be quite honest.
To this day.
To this day, yeah. But
1982 to 2025.
Yeah,
Wow.
I never heard it, man. But like at the end of the day, I know that it's crazy because I sit in rooms with. I suffer from imposter syndrome, so that's one of the things that I found out through therapy.
Explain that.
So imposter syndrome is like you are an established person. You have done things in your life that have value,
100%.
but like you can sit in a room with other people and not feel like you're worthy to be in that room. Meanwhile, they look at you
the
same way
Yeah.
that you probably looking at them. Like I spend a lot of time with like a lot of special forces guys, right? SEALs, Green Berets.
Shout out to Jocko Willink.
You know what I'm
a
saying?
huge fan
Like
of that dude.
So I'm sitting in rooms with these guys and they're like, "Yo, man, like the shit that you've done in your career is fucking phenomenal." And I'm like, "What? Like you guys go overseas, you do X, Y, and Z, da 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 da." And they're like, "Nah, man, you don't get what I'm saying, bro. Like you do what I do, but you do it on domestic soil." See, the difference between a person who's military personnel and a person who is a police officer is I know who my enemy is. I'm not sitting down having a conversation with my enemy and then 3 seconds later that can turn into a fatal shootout. And it didn't wrap around my brain until I watched a video where a guy's having a conversation with a dude, and the next thing you know, like 3 seconds later, he's reaching for his gun and he ends up having to, take care of business. And so, these SEALs, these berets, these guys are talking to me because I was in ESU for 10 years, so I went to SWAT school and I can handle a MP4, a shotgun. I'm proficient in a handgun.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And they're sitting there like, "Yo, man, you're not much different than us, bro. You just do it on a domestic level. But like, you've been a cop for this long. Look how you take care of yourself. Look at your awards. I got a bunch of fucking awards, man. I've moved around in my career. So it's like, I don't realize that shit because I'm still thinking I'm the kid that's talking to his father.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the shit I got
That's deep.
in fucking therapy.
That's deep.
So.
That's deep. So I have nothing. I wanted to hear your response to what I asked as far as that. I think therapy is very a lucrative situation, especially if you go in there with the agenda of gaining clarity.
Yeah. That's
Right.
all I wanted. I just wanted to get back to baseline. I was an angry human being. And I just wanted to get back to being happy-go-lucky.
I mean, how does that work? I mean, goddamn, because there's only so much you could hide emotion. I mean, did you ever take your emotions out through your career? Have you been in situations like that where it affected you?
So the only thing I could say is that I was
jacket clean?
Yeah, man. I never had nothing crazy, man. I was never like,
Yeah.
Because you know what it is, like I see me in the community that I police.
On both sides of the coin.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was the kid who got ran up on cops.
Yeah.
And what you doing out here? So I never wanted to be the guy that was going to be that person. I was in a proactive unit, but I don't think I was an asshole. I think I was fair. You know what I'm saying? But like, I used to get off on like I was an adrenaline junkie. Are we doing search warrants? Yeah, sign me up.
To kick the door down.
Yeah, and I wanted to be the guy that was at the front. I didn't want to be the guy in the back. So I wanted, I wanted to be a breacher or a shield guy. I was always a breacher or a shield guy.
That's scary. Being in the front
Yeah,
like
but
that.
I fucking fed off that. That adrenaline is like
I was
no
watching
other.
Rush Hour too, man.
There's no
the
other,
motherfuckers
bro.
bum rush the joint and boom.
Yeah, there's no like adrenaline rush than hitting the door at like 4 a.m. You don't know what the fuck is behind
Yeah.
that door.
You don't know shit.
You don't know shit, and it's
What's
just
going
like
through your mind at that point?
your shit just goes blank.
Yeah.
And also, you'll be in a situation like I had a situation where, so the mind is a very powerful thing,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The mind will play tricks on you, and I could think like as a fighter, right? You can maybe relate to this, right? You may run across an opponent that is viewed as this like killer, like this dude is a problem, right? And you get in the ring with him and he hits you, and you're like,
That's what y'all raving about?
this the
Absolutely.
guy that you say is a
Yeah.
killer?
Yeah, come
Oh, I got this, and then you just start
Yeah.
manhandle him, right?
Yeah.
The brain will make you think something that is like, I think fear is created by our mind. Fear is not real. We create fear.
How do you deal with fear?
You got it. And
That's like dealing with fire. It's hard.
I just learned how to do this. You got to make fear your fucking best friend. Fear doesn't exist. It only exists in your head, right? So like, I'll go to a call where I could give you a particular call where the man behind this fucking door you thought was like your size. You're a big guy.
Yeah.
You're not a small dude.
No.
Right? The guy behind this door was fucking like 5'4", maybe 135, 140 pounds. Was a bad dude, but he sounded like he was you. Like he sounded,
I've been through that. Yeah.
And you're like, yo, who's behind this door? But by the time we get in there,
Come on.
it's this guy. You get
Let's go, guy.
You know what I mean? But but in my brain, it was Sasquatch behind that damn door. So I created the fear.
The illusion.
Yeah, we create the fear because like we'll take something and then we'll feed that energy, and it creates this monster that we call fear.
And it's so easy. I'm talking, it's like lighting a match to it.
Yeah,
Once it's there, it's hard to, it's tough. I mean, well, because there is realistic. I mean, some fear, I feel you got to feel something because that's what keeps us on point now.
Yeah, absolutely.
If by me, a threat
I'm not saying I'm not
assessing-
scared of shit.
Yeah.
But what
I know
I'm
what you
saying
mean.
is like I take fear and I try to harness that fear and use it to my advantage.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're not scared, right? Because we could be scared. And this is another thing I learned in therapy. Like, if you tell me there's a gun on the other side of that door, I'm going to that gun. But if you tell me, yo, we need to have a conversation. If somebody texts me like, yo, we got to talk later, I'm not going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I don't want to have that conversation. I'll go to where that gun is.
Yeah.
I'll go to where that bad guy is. But I don't want to have this conversation.
Really?
So, like, my fear comes in different ways.
Okay.
And that's some shit I unpacked in therapy.
Really?
Like, I don't like to
Okay.
have I can have an uncomfortable conversation, but I'd rather you just tell me, like, yo, man, we got to have this conversation about such and such. Don't have me motherfucking waiting.
Yeah.
Because in my brain, I'm creating that fear. I'm creating that monster because you're not telling me. I'm hanging on by a thread. We got to talk.
Yeah.
Like,
Now it's the suspense.
yeah.
Dun,
And then the fear comes in.
Dun, 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 dun. What's the Law and Order song? That's my shit. Well, I'm a big Law and Order. Listen, Detective Stabler has been my dog my whole life. Wow. Do you watch cop shows? You into the
Hell no. I get mad at my cop friends that watch cop shows because I'm like, y'all do this shit. Me, like, why you watching it?
This shit is hard. I like Stabler and Benson, man.
Man.
Would you rather, before we get to your final, your future and what you got planned and things of that nature, do you have a partner?
Yeah. I got a partner.
Would you prefer a male partner or a woman partner? Is there a difference?
Yeah, I mean, a male partner is probably a little bit easier to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, my partner's he's dope. He's cool, man. Me and him get along. We got a great understanding.
Yeah.
So
when it's all said and
nothing
done,
against females though.
No,
you know
no,
what I mean? I've had a great female partner.
You might get sued.
Yeah. I don't want no smoke with nobody. I've had a phenomenal female partner. She was great. I haven't had many female partners.
Yeah.
But the one female partner that I have, we like brother and sister. She has my back. I has her. I have hers.
You know your shit, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
I know I've been watching a lot of these YouTubes, citizens who know their rights and shit been owning a few of these cops. Oh, what section? C70. The cop is like,
These like auditors that go out there.
audit. Yeah, you ever encounter any of those?
Severity, like right to, not severity.
Oh, sovereign citizens.
Sovereign citizen.
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
So
I've been binging all that shit. I don't know. It just
I
popped up
ran
on my
into
YouTube.
a sovereign citizen. I ran into an auditor as well.
How'd you deal with that?
I mean, at the end of the day, bro, like I said, you just you got to know your shit, and I think it's all on how you approach people. You got to ditch the ego, man, because
Yeah.
a lot of them are trying to bait you. right, into doing some shit. And at the end of the day, is it really worth it? Like, at the end of the day, I'm gonna go home, man.
Yeah.
Like, whatever happens at this is
You
not
want
gonna
to
have no
record
bearing
the
on me.
building?
Yeah,
Cool.
you can record the building. I don't
Yeah.
got no problems with y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all go ahead and do that.
Do you have kids?
Yeah, I got a son.
Oh, you got a son.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
wow. Okay, wow. Jay the father.
Yeah.
What's something that you learned from your dad, just watching your father, that you do differently with your son? What's something that you do different from what your experience with your dad? What is something that you said, when I'm a father, I'm going to, I love my dad, and my dad's a great dad, but I'm going to implement this into my
I make sure I let my
strategy.
son know that I love him and that he's unique and that I'm proud of him no matter what. Like, you know what I'm saying? If he plays a sport, am I going to be proud of him because he plays a sport, or am I going to be proud of him because he's my son?
Absolutely.
So I just, my son, if you think about the gift of life, right?
Absolutely.
Like the chances of us being here is like a 1 in a billion shot. You know what I'm saying? And so between the gestational period, the conception, gestation, and like the conception, it's like we are gifts in itself just to be here breathing and living life, man. So I just make sure that my son knows that every single day.
And that's so deep. It should be sounding so simple, but it's like life itself is deep.
Yeah.
I'm not a surface level type of guy. I'm not big on, like everything is. I'm not the type of guy to go into a parking lot with a spade shovel and start digging. Like that don't make sense. But but like we take for granted so many things. Like even us, I know people. You don't understand the importance of legs until you see somebody in a wheelchair.
Facts.
And now I think with my adversities I faced, I learned how to simplify my happiness. Just take happiness in the little things. Like I remember my first time riding the car after having my unfortunate accident. I'm like, damn, I was driving. It made me fall in love with the spraying. Like, this is my favorite highway. I like the flow of this traffic. It was just something little like that.
You find joy in the small things, bro.
Yeah, it's like I was on 287.
That's the key to
I'm like,
happiness.
fuck this highway. I got on the spraying. Like, it was just therapeutic. Like, I'm like, damn.
That's the key to happiness.
Just a drive. I'm not doing anything.
Finding beauty in the small things, man.
Yeah.
Shit that we take for granted.
Absolutely. When it's all said and done, when you do finally retire, what are your goals? What's some of your end games as far as the podcasting world, the traveling world, law enforcement world? You might become, I don't know, your rank. You might want to be a lieutenant.
I've done everything in my career that I wanted to do. I wanted to retire as a detective, which I will be. I am a detective, but I'll retire as a detective. So I hit every checkbox that I wanted to.
This would be a uniform then.
I'm usually in plain clothes and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
oh shit.
So
Foster. Shout out my dog Foster. He just retired too.
I've done everything in my career that I wanted to do. Now, when I leave this career, I don't want to do anything that has to do with policing.
Really?
No, not at all.
Security. No.
Nah. I mean, I just want to be able to be around my son.
Yeah.
So, like, if I can create a lifestyle where I can be with him, like take him to school or take him to the bus, and when he's home.
That's big.
Yeah, when he comes home off the bus.
My days off, some of my coworkers be like, what are you going to do? Man, I'm about to put my son on the goddamn bus and see him off.
Yeah, man. See him off and welcome him home and go to his games. I don't want to miss any games. I want to be present in his life, man. So the life that I want to create is going to be based around that. I mean, I got some things on the table right now. I want to continue to stay in the wellness space.
For sure.
I work for a non-for-profit, so if I can make a non-for-profit, situation turn into like a decent paying job where I can have a flexible schedule, that'll be fucking awesome. I work with a company called O2X where, we travel around the country and we work with different police departments and fire departments and so on, and we get to train them, in workouts, but it's more than workouts. It's mental resilience, and then there's there's nutritional information that is given, and then there's like sleep work and meditation and breath work that they do. Just helps you thrive in that particular first responder space. So if I can do something where I can give back to like the first responder community, or maybe some underprivileged youth, or at-risk youth, I should say, that's something I'm looking to do. But anything in that wellness space, I think I can create a lifestyle.
Who are your law enforcement OGs, like your law enforcement influences?
Oh, man. Shout out to Charlie Walker, man. That is the OG of OGs.
The ones you know and the ones you don't know. Like I said, I listen, Jocko Willink is one of my.
Okay.
I don't know too much. I don't know him personally, but as far as his content, I love his way he work out.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. So I have this weird thing with Navy SEALs. I always try to get in rooms with them and chop it up with them. So I would say Charlie Walker. I like Jocko a lot. There's a dude that I met. His name is Alex Othmer. He's another Navy SEAL. He's from Carmel. Okay. Great dude. I consider him to be an OG, even though he's younger than me. But just his life experience and the shit that he's seen and the conversations that we had, I think he's a phenomenal human being. And I think the third one would be Hondo, bro, from SWAT, man. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm talking about, I'm talking about Samuel Hondo. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So.
I'm a YouTuber. I be on that. I done bumped across Sam.
I used to call myself Hondo when I was in the issue truck.
Yeah, that's great. Yo, final words that you want to leave with the culture. Nothing's normal. This won't be our last time building with them. This was excellent. I'm an energy person. I thrive off energy. I don't care what you do. You could play the guitar at the train station. If your energy is right, you know, we gonna build. So this was a pleasure of mine. I was looking forward to doing this, and I learned a lot. I learned some things myself. I plan on definitely partnering with you in the future.
Absolutely, brother.
Doing more things.
You say the word, and I'm there, man.
Absolutely, but I
respect what you do, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That means a lot. That means
absolutely.
A lot.
Yeah, man. I've been watching you for a while, man.
Yeah.
When you had Shorts and Oak, is when I really like locked in. I see when you had J1 on. I love the way you conduct an interview, man. Like I could tell you. You perfected this craft, man. I could tell you put work in it. I could tell that you know, from when you started to now, it's been huge growth, man. So
that's big.
Just want to give you your flowers and salute you on that.
We need more of that. I feel
that's
like
a fact,
more
bro.
collaboration, you know, especially
that's the key to success, man. Can't gatekeep.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, it's a lot of gatekeeping, but you know,
I got my cop buddy now, so you know, he's been coming in. We're knocking the gate down. Yeah,
I'm telling you, bro.
That's important. But yeah, so what's final words coming from the Jumpman? Where'd you get that name from, by the way?
Yo, my sneaker collection, man.
Okay.
I can't dunk no more. I can't do none of that.
Okay. You used to be able to dunk, though?
Yeah, man. I used to be able to put it down in like wallabies, too. I used to be able to get up there. I can't do that now.
I dunked one time my whole life. I'm big. I'm one of them big for nothing guys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, my sneaker collection. But like, I think the one thing I want to leave everybody with is don't let fear cripple you. You know, what's the worst that could happen, right? If there's a dream or something that you want to chase, do that shit. If it is in your spirit, right, and it makes you a little bit scared, use that fear, right, and push forward and push through that. Yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna be sitting on an idea and never do anything with it, and somebody else is gonna do it with a third of the talent that you had to get it done.
And to add on to that, I think haters spend more money than loved ones.
Facts.
I be like so. Don't get caught up in chasing love. You know, the people who's gonna love you is gonna love you. The people who's not gonna love you, it's okay. It's not the ones we give. We give people reasons not to like us sometimes. But as far as people who nothing's normal. That's real live and let live for me. Like whatever you got going on, as long as you don't try to oppress your ways on me, we could be fine. Or we cannot. It's that simple. So just to add to that, don't let fear cripple you and just do it. Even if they don't give you acknowledgement, because acknowledgement is big. It's like a big acknowledgement is almost like money nowadays. People are very stingy with their acknowledgement. They'll see something and recognize something and just won't say anything about it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the shit that you do here, like this podcast is gonna reach somebody and change somebody's life, right? And that means you've done your job as a human being. You've impacted another human being that has helped them change their life, and maybe somebody wants to be like you, like, hey, I want to sit in front of a mic and interview people, or I want to train people. Like, you could be the catalyst to change somebody else's life, man. So,
absolutely,
people got to stop, sitting on ideas and just go out and do it.
Absolutely. You got work tonight?
Nah, man.
He's off. All right, Nothing's Normal podcast. The Jumpman, Jason Lacayo.
Yeah, yes sir.
I said it right too.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Hondurans. Actually, Chef, my last. 2 guests ago, his father was Honduran. So, it's a lot going on over here. Nothing's normal. We love y'all. We see y'all next time. We out of here.
Peace.